Ravza Kacakci is a member of parliament from the ruling AK party and joins us now from Ankara. Ms. Kavakci, very nice to speak to you this afternoon. I'd like to read to you from the report, quote, Turkey's ruling party has presided over an intense crackdown targeting activists and media critical of the government. Just how do you respond to that?
Thank you very much for letting me join you today. I find parts of the report to be unfair, especially considering the amount of freedom of expression and freedom of press that has increased over the last few years. When it's an issue of national security, there are limits to our freedoms, as we know, especially in a time when Turkey is dealing with terrorist organizations on many borders and many facets. We're dealing with PKK terrorism, and we're faced with Daesh terrorism, ISIS terrorism, and other organizations. That is why at this time it is extra important for Turkey to take the necessary measures. It's unfortunate that these people like Can Dündar happen to be news reporters, but they are not above the law when it comes to disclosing information regarding national security and also information that has no basis whatsoever.
Well, Ms. Kavakci, you would admit, though, that the crackdown on the rights of people shouldn't be used as an excuse in times of national crisis. And this issue has been raised by the EU and Joe Biden, the US Vice President. How do you think this is affecting Turkey's image overseas?
I think we need to look at it from a different window also. After the Paris attacks, what did we have in Paris? There were absolutely no photographs of the attacks. We didn't see any pictures of the people who unfortunately lost their lives in those horrific attacks, right? Because it was not allowed in Paris, in France, to publish those pictures. So I think when it comes to times of crisis, just like when we had the terrorist attacks in 2001, the Twin Towers attacks in the United States, we had to go under extra security in order to ensure that no more civilian lives are lost. So I think that we need to look at this from this perspective. Otherwise, as more than before, news reporters, journalists are able to criticize the governments. If we could look at all the news about the president and the prime minister attacking them, we see every day in many papers in Turkey and other media outlets. So I think it is unfair arguing that Turkey is like some other authoritarian regimes that are mentioned in the report, and it's unfortunate that terrorist organizations are taken so lightly by some in the world.
Ms. Kavakci, just on a slightly different point, but one that's mentioned in the report, the plight of refugees. Just what more do you think Turkey can do? Of course, there are over 2 million refugees here in the country. What more can be done to protect the human rights of refugees?
Yes, I have had the opportunity to visit a number of camps, the ones in Gaziantep, Nizip camp, we had container camps and also tent camps. And UN officials, UNDP officials have commended Turkey on hosting 2 million. I mean, I think this is an important number. While some European countries, EU countries are struggling, thinking of 10,000, 20,000 refugees, Turkey was prepared for 100,000, 200,000. Now we have over 2 million refugees that we are hosting. Actually, we don't even call them refugees, but we call them guests in Turkish. So I think Turkey is doing the best it can, while many of the other countries unfortunately chose to look away. But recently we are happy that EU and United Nations are trying to help find a solution or trying to assist Turkey in certain ways in hosting these 2 million people. However, it's also important to note that the international community needs to urgently find a solution to the problem which causes all these refugees to come to Turkey and try to go to Europe, is solving the current situation in Syria. You know, Turkey was one of the first countries to declare the Assad regime as a regime that was killing, massacring its own people. So in order to solve this problem, find a complete, good, final solution to the refugee problem and problems related with Daesh, ISIS, other terrorist organizations that are actually maybe enjoying the freedom of not having stability in the area, we need to find a solution to the Syrian problem, Syrian regime problem in the international community.
Well, Ravza Kacakci there from Ankara. We do have to leave it there, but thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.